Now we're on Daf Mem Zayin Amid Beis, and the Mishnah concludes by saying that Matana Achas Makeves Shir Adama Yeshofech Al Yisod Marav Yishofech Chitzon V'Lo Nasan Lo Yikev Elu Nisrofin Abeis Hadosh. So, with regard to the Parmen Nisrofim and the Seirim and Nisrofim, all the Matanos are critical, and the Shir Adam, like we said before, by Chatos Chitzona, is mitzvah to shvich al gabi yisod, but it's not likuva, it's not critical. And the sreifa in these cases is done at the Beis Hadeshen. Now, is the Beis Hadeshen outside of Yerushalayim? Just 1 second. Yeah, the Beis Hadeshen, the place of the ashes, was in an area outside Yerushalayim. Okay. And now we start the Gemara. Now, in Kodshe Kodshim, as we pointed out, which was the kickoff of the Mishnah, there's no mention of Kabbalas Hadam. That the Kabbalas Hadam, likewise, like the Shechit, has to be implemented in the Tzafon. So the Gemara immediately asks, we know that that's so, that you require Tzafon even for Kabbalah. Is this the name of Kibul Don Meklishars by Tzafon? Why isn't that requirement mentioned? The Mishnah seems to omit it. And the Gemara says, Keva de Ika Sham Mitzora, that the Mishnah couldn't say as an absolute ironclad rule that the Kabbalas Hadam has to be in Kodshe Kodshim in the Tzafon. Because once I can find one exceptional rule, which we'll see about Mitzorah, where the Kabbalas Hadam does not happen in the Tzafon, then the Mishnah wouldn't have gone into detail and made exceptions to the rule. The Mishnah wanted to say an absolute rule. And came in the Ika Hasham Mitzorah, the Kibul Dom Biyadhu Shiore. Shire. So 1 second. If the Kabbalas Hadam of the Asham is with his hand, does that mean you don't require Tzafon? 1 second. I think at this point, the Gemara is going to slug this up immediately, but the Gemara now in the Havamina thinks that the Kabbalas Hadam in Hasham Mitzorah directly into the hands of the Kohen Gadol, or I shouldn't say Kohen Gadol, of the Kohen, is going to replace the requirement of Tzafon, and therefore was omitted from this Mishnah. But below, that can't be, says the Gemara. V'ktani lo lekamon, we have a Mishnah later on, which is on Daf Nun Dalid Omid Beis, and the Mishnah says, Asham Nozir, Asham Mitzorah, Shchitosa Batzofon. Okay, that's fine, because Korban Hashem is Kodesh Kodshim requires Shchita Batzofon, but the Kibul Daman, the Kli Shares Batzofon. Oh boy, this is really way out. Not only is it explicit that we required Tzofon for the dam of Hasham Mitzorah, but also we require Kli Shares. We said it goes directly into his hands. So apparently, what's going to happen now, that there are either two Tanoim who authored the two Mishnayos, or alternatively, one Tana, but he changed his mind. Meikara originally he was of the impression, when he authored the Mishnah, that Kibul Dama B'Yadu, that there's no requirement of a Kli Shares for the dam of the Hasham Mitzorah and Shire, and therefore it had to be left out of you couldn't have a general statement that Kodesh Kodshim requires Kabbalah Sadam B'Tzafon, because in one of the cases of Kodesh Kodshim, there's no Kabbalah Sadam at all. I mean, not in the Klisharis. Bekeva de lo sagi le ela b'kli hadar tanya. So I think what he's saying now is that, to the surprise of the Tana, when he researched it further, he came up with the radical chiddush that there are two Kabbalos with regard to the dam of Asham Mitzorah. There's going to be one Kabbalah in a Klishares, and there's going to be a Kabbalah in his Yad. And therefore, lo sagi le el b'kli, he can't fulfill his avoda, meaning the Kohen, unless he accepts the dam in a Klishares. And therefore, Haratanya. So now he can introduce Safon in that later Mishnah on Daf Nud Dalid, because now he's smarter than he was originally when he wrote this Mishnah, and he came to the realization that you need a Klishares for Kabbalah Sadam in Asham Mitzorah. Tisanya, as we learned in the Brisa, V'lokach, the word V'lokach we've seen many times refers to Kabbalah Sadam. So let's see the whole pasuk here. Just 1 second. Vayikra Yudalid. V'lokach hakohen midam ha'asham v'nasan hakohen al tnuch. So the opening word in this pasuk of Asham Mitzorah is V'lokach. Now, Yochel B'Kli, Lakicha, which is Kabbalah in a classic sense, is to be Makabal Adam and a Klishares. Is there an exception to the rule here in the case of Asham Mitzorah? Talmud Lov V'Nasan. V'Nasan means that the dam went from the neck of the animal directly into the yad of the Kohen. Manasina bi'atzmo shel Kohen, af lekicha bi'atzmo shel Kohen. So we have here a hekesh between V'lokach and V'Nasan. V'Nasan is referring to the application of the dam on the right ear, the right thumb, and the right big toe of the mitzvah. Then he has to do it with shemen. With regard to shemen, the Torah went out of its way to tell us that it has to be applied with the finger of the Kohen, and therefore even the dam also has to be applied with the finger of the Kohen. So right, the Kohen is going to dip his fingers into the klishares, and then he's going to take the dam with his fingers and place it on those three places, right? Let's go over it again. Ear, right thumb, and right big toe. So that's called Nesina Biatzmo Shel Kohen. And basically based on this hekesh, Af Lekicha Atz Biatzmo Shel Kohen. And we said that Lekicha means Kabbalah, so the Kabbalah has to be with the Atzmo Shel Kohen, the goof of the Kohen. But now wait a second. All that has to do with the nesina on the three parts of the mitzorah, on the right ear and the right thumb and the right toe, big toe. But there's another process which is required, like in any korban, of applying the dam, in this case of the asham mitzorah, onto the mizbeach. Yochel af mizbeach ken. Do we really think that for the Kabbalah that introduces or is the preliminary step culminating in Nesinas Adam al Gabi Mizbeach, you don't need a klishores. Tamaloma ki chatos ha'osham hu. The Torah goes out of its way to tell you that the osham has the same status as the chatos. Ma chatos te'una kli. Right, if the Kohen shechs the korban chatos, he's got to have a kli prepared to receive the dam. Is af osham ton kli. So it's really interesting. We're going to have, on the one hand, a Kabbalah b'kli of the dam of the Hasham Mitzvah for the sake of Nesin al Gabi Mizbech. On the other hand, we're going to have a Kabbalah b'yad shel HaKohen for the sake of putting it on his body. Nimtzeis ata omer, Hasham Mitzvah shnei kohanim mekablam es domo. Okay, I don't know exactly why it can't be one Kohen, but let's see. Echad biyad, one Kohen is going to receive the dam in his hands. V'echad b'kli, right? Because I need Kabbalas Adam b'kli sharis in order to apply the dam on the mizbeach. Zeh shekiblo b'kli bolo eitzel mizbeach, and zeh shekiblo biyad bolo eitzel mitzorah. Now, why does it have to be two Kohen? That's what, does anybody say that? So that point I don't follow now. Let me just very quickly take a look in the Masifta if he adds anything here. All right, now Zion and Bays. Oh,
Is this because there were two oath used?
well, we're talking about the Korban Osham of a Mitzorah. Gimel. I don't know exactly why. I'm missing one little piece of the puzzle. Why does he need two Kohanim? I think it's a technical issue. It's like one Kohen is going to accompany the Mitzorah himself to do the Nesinas Dam Biyad on the three parts. And the other Kohen is already, he's not interested in the Mitzorah anymore. He's got the korban itself and he's got to bring the Dam over to the Mizbeach. Again, mata chatos teuna kli af osham ton kli. Nitziseta omer. Asham mitzor b'shnei konim amakablam es domo. Echad biyad v'echad b'kli. And he has a footnote here, but the footnote addresses a different question. Which Kabbalah comes first in sequence? And Kabbalah Hadam B'Kli Kodemis LeKabbalah B'Yad. So maybe it means the following. Again, it's very technical, but if the Kohen is Makabel the Dam in a Kli, he doesn't have the ability to now put the Kli down on the floor. He's got to continue mixing it and mixing it so it shouldn't be Dam Korish, and then without any delay, applying it to the Mizbeach. If he's going to put down the Dam in order to now go back to the neck of the animal and receive Dam, and then what's he going to do? Then he's going to pick up the Kli and take it to the Mizbeach. You follow what I'm saying? The Kli has to be taken to the Mizbeach immediately for the Zrika, for the Matan Domim on the Mizbeach. Now, there's another avoda going on over here in terms of applying the dam through the fingers of the Kohen onto the three parts of the Mitzorah. I mean, you can't have one Kohen doing both. That's what I think is going on here. And that finishes the daf for today and brings us to daf Memches for tomorrow. Okay, then? All right. Thank you very much and have a great Shabbos. I'll see you, Mr. Shem, on Sunday, probably at 9:30.